All right, Johanna, it's really nice to see you. Thank you for coming and being present here with me today. And how have you been?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. Thank you for
Good.
seeing me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything you'd like to share before we kind of begin? And
Um, Not really. No, I don't have anything.
okay, no worries, no worries. Well, if you're aligned, I figured that we do a little bit of an exercise, kind of a little bit of a recall exercise towards your earliest childhood memories. Sometimes reflecting back on the past gives us an idea of how our current behaviors and thoughts and perceptions kind of coincide with some of the experiences we've had in our childhoods and vice versa. Kind of that cyclical relationship there. Does that make sense? Is that kind
Yes.
of, okay? Perfect. So one of the things that I would invite you to do is, if you would like, to close your eyes if that helps you, or you can keep them remained open, whatever makes you most comfortable. But to really be a little bit more reflective and introspective by recalling your earliest childhood memory.
Okay. So, if I recall my early summer, I do not have any vivid event that took like a long time. It's more of like a little flashes of things that I remember in my younger years.
Yeah.
One event that I have recalled was when it was, I think it was my fifth or sixth birthday, and my dad was telling me that, oh, okay, we don't really have anything for your birthday. I hope it's going to be okay with you. And I was like, sure, I was just there. I was a quiet person, young, growing up. But later during the end of the day, it was like probably like neighbors, or maybe he surprised me. I don't know what happened. But at the end of the day, I have like lots and lots of cakes. It was just a simple bake cake, but there was probably like almost 10 cakes that we have, and I was so excited. I was so happy because I wasn't expecting it. Because he told me in the beginning that we were not gonna have anything for my birthday. So, and then we invited our neighbors, and there was just a lot of us kids in our house, and I remember this kids jumping like in our wall. There was like a space at the very top of it, and I remember my friends and neighbors, they were jumping from the top, and I was super scared to do it. But I think I did try, but I only did it once, and I was looking at them jumping from the top, and I was like, how can they do this? It's so scary. Um, and that's one thing that I recall. Those are one thing that I recall in my past childhood
Okay.
memory. Is that something that you do you want me to give you more of other events that I can recall? Here?
I think that's great, and I really appreciate your willingness to want to share more. And I kind of want to ask before we get into other ones, why does this memory in particular stand out for you?
I don't know, but it does stand out so much to me. I don't recall, or I don't have the idea why, but maybe because growing up, really, I wasn't very close with my dad, and so that is probably something that stayed with me to remember something that is good that I can recall.
Mm,
About him that is something good because I was not very close with him growing up.
okay, okay, that's very insightful. So when you think about this memory, especially with your relationship with your father growing up, I think there's definitely something to be said about the fact that you're wanting to remember this memory as a good time in your relationship with your father, so as not to maybe hold on to angst or anxiety. How do you feel about that?
Um, I I think that's good because then I don't want. Well, I do have in my earlier years about memories of our relationship that wasn't really working well, but but somehow when we think about the earliest memory going back to like 5 years old, 6 year old, I don't know why, but that is the one that's really sticking out to me.
And you said a couple of key words. You said you experienced the surprise, obviously, when your father told you that you weren't going to have anything, you know, and you get surrounded by all these cakes. You know, surprise definitely elicits a specific emotion. And then you mentioned fear about watching your peers jump off and thinking that maybe it scared you, but then you tried it.
Right.
So those are
And,
all kind of like feelings that are associated with this memory, rather.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would have to say that even until now, I have fear of heights.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Really? Yeah. I can imagine. I can imagine.
Because one time, just about 2 to 3 years ago, me and my friends did this activity wherein you do zip line.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I was with older ladies, and I said, I'm going to do it because they're older than me. I'm going to do it. They can do it. I can do it. And so when we went up there to the very top, I was shaking and I was crying. But I was very encouraged just looking at my older friends. They were in their like 50s or 60s, and I was looking at them and I was tearing up because I was so scared. But I was looking at them. They were saying, Johanna, we're fine. You're gonna be okay. And I was looking at them, and I told myself, I'm gonna be okay. They're okay. I'm gonna be okay.
Right, reassuring yourself. Right, correct. So when you talk about these memories and how they make you feel, we kind of went over a little bit emotionally in terms of like reconnecting with that sense of or that earliest observation of that fear-based kind of emotion, that's and also surprise. Those can sometimes be very closely related to one another, but it sounds like the context was a little bit different. So the surprise that you experienced with actually receiving a birthday was actually very joyful, whereas the other fear was a little bit more, or the other emotion of fear was a little bit more fear-based, maybe with some cognitive dissonance you're experiencing from your fear of heights. Is that correct? Yeah. So kind of one other thing to maybe think about when we're exploring and recalling early childhood memories is to what extent, if any, to what extent does your earliest memory represent who you are today and your perceptions based on the reality that you've built in the present?
I would probably say that growing up when I was telling you that okay, we don't have anything today, and so today now I would probably say that it is more of being determined in life and trying to achieve the things that I can do in life, so that way I can be a good provider for my parent. I'm sorry, for my children.
Yeah.
They will have something when for birthdays or something that I can give to them whenever I feel like, okay, I'm gonna give you something, and so I have that to give. So that's what it is, I think.
Excellent. Excellent. How long have you been a mom?
I have a 10-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old son.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with me. And I can imagine kind of even going back a little bit sooner, like that 10 to 5 year ratio there of when you originally had children. Were you experiencing a lot of anxiety and kind of that whole feeling of fear about wanting to jump off the ledge, have the children, have the traditional family lifestyle? And you might have experienced that same kind of fear-based, jumping off the cliff to have your family, so to speak, right?
I probably so. You're probably right there because when me and my husband have our baby, yes, you were right about jumping into something because we can't really say, okay, we're gonna have a baby in a year or two. Somehow it kind of happened. So
Yeah.
that's probably what you mean by yeah.
Jumping off the ledge, so to speak, right? Right.
Yeah.
So, well, excellent. Excellent. So are there any other earlier childhood memories that were kind of elicited as we began talking about this, or anything else you'd like to share in terms of those memories?
Um, I, yeah, that is it probably.
All right, all right. Well, I think in life when we generally have, fear, we're very easily almost manipulated by our brains in a sense, in its own terms of it's its own worst enemy sometimes, and defense mechanism,
Mm-hmm.
especially because if we're not mindful of that, we can sometimes have that cognizant dissonance in our mind that then causes kind of distortions of thought. And when we kind of fall subject and prey to those distorted thoughts, such as reacting out of fear as opposed to responding to a situation, sometimes they can cause maladaptive behaviors if we allow ourselves to continue to think in that space. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, really struggling to, or kind of finding some peace and learning how to respond to fear-based situations instead of react. Now, obviously, there's a difference between reacting in terms of a crisis or a situation of immediacy. That's a completely different thing. But in terms of when that idea of fear is elicited, of being very mindful about responding to that and not letting it drive us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, jumping off that ledge to do something that could potentially be positive for us instead of recovering from that idea of being fear, because fear can sometimes be addicting.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Joanne, I really appreciate you sharing a little bit about your earlier childhood memories and helping me kind of figure out how they've kind of come to be in your present situation, or even your situation kind of coming along the string of events in your life. So I certainly appreciate you sharing, and I look forward to hearing more.
Okay,
All
thanks.
right. Thank you.